the government has been consistently evaluating and reviewing the situation, and as and when there are requirements to meet the needs of various sectors, measures are being announced. For the farming community, especially for the farmers, already measures have been announced facilitating cash drawal, higher cash drawals against crop loan sanctions, higher cash drawal from their sale of agricultural produce, similarly higher cash drawal in the APMC markets for registered traders, and similar other measures have been announced. Cash also has been made available. The new denomination notes, 2,000 rupee and 500 rupee notes, are also being made available, have been made available in 1.55 lakh, 1,55,000 post offices across the country to disburse cash to especially the rural people. Now, today the government has again reviewed the situation. I mean, it's a continuous process because you keep getting representations. And government has decided on certain measures to especially keeping in view the requirements of the farmers, for the benefit of the farmers. And secondly, for the promotion of digital economy, for the promotion of digital transactions in the country, for greater and faster proliferation of digital transactions in the country. Now, consequently, the NABARD, for the facility, for the benefit of the agricultural operations during the current Rabi season, and especially for the benefit of the farmers, NABARD has sanctioned a special limit of 21,000 crores of rupees to be sanctioned to the district central cooperative banks. And as you know, almost more than 40% of the small and marginal farmers get their crop loan credit, get their agricultural credit from the cooperative institutions. Out of the total institutional credit which flows to the agricultural sector, to the farming community, out of the total credit that flows from institutional sources, more than 40% of the requirement of small and marginal farmers is from the cooperative credit structure. So therefore, the sanction of 21,000 crore limit by NABARD to the district central cooperative banks will enable the district central cooperative banks to pass on, to sort of grant funds, to sort of pass on these funds to the primary agricultural cooperative societies. And the primary agricultural cooperative societies network, the PACS network, will get activated and will meet the crop loan requirement of the farmers during the current Rabi season. So therefore, this measure will ensure a smooth flow of credit, unhindered flow of credit for the farmers to enable them to undertake their current Rabi operations. With regard to seeds, as you know, government has already announced certain measures that the old notes would be acceptable in the case of a seed purchase from certain government department and government institutional centers. And over and above these 21,000 crores, as and when additional limits are required, additional limits also will be sanctioned by the NABARD. Now, secondly, to ensure that the farmers get the credit and also they get certain quantum of credit in terms of cash, by way of cash, because there are certain cash requirements for payment of wages, etc. So the banks, the NABARD and the Reserve Bank of India have been advised to make the required cash available to the district central cooperative banks, because typically the district central cooperative banks draw their cash from the currency chests which are managed and operated by the commercial scheduled banks and also by the state cooperative banks. NABARD has prepared a list of all DCCBs which require funds for sanction of crop loans in the current Rabi season. The list of such DCCBs and the quantum required by each of such DCCB has been given to the banks. They have been given to the NABARD. I mean, they have been given to the Reserve Bank of India, and the required cash will be made available. And the Honorable Finance Minister has also held a video conference with the Reserve Bank of India, with NABARD and all the banks day before yesterday, and he has advised banks, RBI and NABARD to ensure that the entire, the crop loan sanction and flow of funds to down to the primary agricultural cooperative societies, the entire operations, the whole chain of activities are carried on in a seamless and in a smooth manner. Then, as you are aware, the Reserve Bank of India has already announced certain relief for small loanees up to 1 crore. So that has already been announced. So I am not going into in detail. Now, the other decision which has been taken, and I must appreciate the role being played by the public sector banks over the last 10-12 days in dealing with the situation, in making the cash, in making the new currencies available to the public. I must also recognize the work being done by some of the private sector banks. The entire banking structure has fully geared up to meet the situation. And you are aware that so far as RuPay cards are concerned, the National Payment Council of India has already waived waived the switching charges, and all the other charges on the RuPay cards have been already waived. Now, the public sector banks and some of the private sector banks, we have been talking to the private sector banks and some of the service providers who provide the switching services. They have agreed to waive the charges, the service charges on the use of debit cards up to 31st December 2016. In other words, what you call the MDR charges on use of debit cards, that is RuPay cards, it was already done. Now on debit cards, the charges being levied by the banks and by the switching charges would stand completely waived. So there will be no charge on use of debit cards. The intention of this decision and the intention behind this gesture which has been made by the banks is to ensure greater penetration of digital transactions into our economy and to ensure that more and more people migrate towards digital transactions. And I take this opportunity to appreciate the gesture of the public sector banks and some of the private sector banks who have already agreed, and others are expected to agree and use their and issue their own circulars. Next point is with regard to the use of e-wallets, that is what they call as prepaid payment instruments, PPIs, or more popularly known as e-wallets. Already the Reserve Bank has announced certain relaxations yesterday, enhancing the limit from 10 to 20,000 in respect of individuals, and similar other limit enhancement in respect of merchants. So I am not going into it. Next point is that Indian Railways, 58% of the tickets being booked in the railway network are through e-ticketing, through online e-tickets. Now, the railways have also decided and have announced already yesterday that up to 31st of December, the service charges on online booking of e-tickets will be completely waived up to 31st December 2016. So this is also another measure, another initiative taken to promote more and more digital transaction in our economy. You see, you have to keep in mind the whole background in which this decision to withdraw the legal character of the old 500 and 1000 rupee notes was done. One of the primary objectives, or one of the positive outcomes of this decision also, is that we expect large number of people to migrate to digital transactions. It is already happening. The public sector banks in particular have informed us that there's a great surge in demands for various kinds of prepaid cards, debit cards and impressed cards, and various for uses of the digital means and modes of payment. Now, in the same vein, the TRAI has also reduced the USSD charges from rupees 1 150 to 50 paisa per session. The announcement in this regard has been made by the TRAI yesterday. And not only they have reduced the USSD charges from 150 to 1 rupee 50 paisa to 50 paisa, they have also increased the number of stages from the current 5 to 8. Now we have to remember that these charges will be of great benefit, especially for undertaking digital financial transaction through feature phones. Now we are not talking of smartphones. We are talking of feature phones which are not smartphones. And in our entire telecom sector in the country, 65% of the total mobile phones used in the country, I repeat, 65% of the total mobile phones in the country are feature phones, which are not smartphones. And this waiver of the reduction of the USSD charge by the TRAI has now also been matched by the telecom companies themselves to waive the remaining 50 paisa of the charges up to 31st December 2016. In other words, for all digital financial transactions which will be undertaken in feature phones will have no service charge till 31st of December 2016. Another area which has also engaged the attention of government is to promote digital payments at the various at the various toll plazas and checkposts. Now the problem of checkposts is being addressed in the context of the GST, in the context of introduction of the GST. Now so far as the toll plazas are concerned, various tolls which the vehicles are required to pay when they move on the national highways. So far as toll plazas are concerned, the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways are advising the vehicle manufacturers that in all new vehicles the manufacturers must provide ETC compliant RFID facility. Now the provision of ETC compliant RFID facility on all new vehicles will ensure payment digitally, the payment of the toll in a digital method, and also it will enable it will avoid the waiting time and the vehicles will move seamlessly without having to wait at the checkposts. So this is another decision which will improve the functioning of the toll plazas, will improve also the system of digital payments. And finally, all government organizations, public sector undertakings and other government authorities have been advised to use only digital payment methods such as internet banking, unified payment interface, cards, Aadhaar enabled payment systems, etc., to make payments to all stakeholders and to their employees. At the point of disbursing of the payments, that is when payments are to be disbursed to various private agencies or contractors whom government departments or agencies or PSUs, when they make payments to private parties, at those disbursing points also, it will be necessary for the concerned authorities to provide an option for payment through cards, digital banking, unified payment interface, Aadhaar enabled payment systems, etc. In other words, the option of digital payments even to private parties will be mandatorily provided, will necessarily be provided. It will be an option which will be provided, and instead of issuing a check or a demand draft, you can make the payment through an online transaction. So all these measures of the government are essentially meant to promote digital penetration with regard to various kinds of transactions. The measures are also intended to help the farmers in the current Rabi season to ensure a normal Rabi crop, especially coming on the back of a good monsoon that we have. So these are the measures which I wanted to announce. The National Payment Corporation of India has been playing a very important role in promoting digital transactions. I have with me the colleagues of from the National Payment Corporation of India, who will just take a couple of minutes. If you can focus the camera, I would request my colleagues from National Payment Corporation of India to just show a small demonstration how the payments are facilitated through the mobile phone, and after that I will address a few questions. I will reply to a few questions thereafter. Sorry?
जो फार्मर जो है वो 50,000 रुपए तक विड्रॉ कर सकता है किसी भी डिस्ट्रिक्ट सेंट्रल कोऑपरेटिव बैंक।
वो आरबीआई का सर्कुलर, आई थिंक दे हैव ऑलरेडी क्लैरिफाइड दिस इशू। मैं आरबीआई का सर्कुलर आप देख लो, उसमें आई थिंक इट इज क्लियरली मेंशन। वन बाय वन जब्त मतलब आपके इनकम टैक्स के कितने सीजर्स हुआ है? नहीं, उसका क्यूमुलेटिव जो है फिगर मेरे पास अभी नहीं है। इस पीरियड का भी फिगर मेरे पास अभी तुरंत अवेलेबल नहीं है। वो जब अप्रोप्रिएट टाइम में रेवेन्यू डिपार्टमेंट इसको दे विल शो इट।
One by one.
What money have you printed so far?
Sorry?
The amount of money that you have printed so far?
No, I think it's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing process. It's a round the clock, as I mentioned earlier. It is now 24/7 operations in all the currency note printing presses, and they're all working on 3 shifts, 7 days a week, and notes are being printed. These informations are usually not shared.
So, related question.
Let please.
You see, ATMs, as far as I know, I think almost a little less than 50% of the ATMs, I think if I have the number, I think out of the 2 lakh odd ATMs, I think more than 75,000.
82,000 yesterday. RBI.
Achha, RBI has given a figure of 82,000 ATMs, which have been recalibrated. So I think it is just a matter of another few days when all the ATMs will be fully recalibrated.
सर वेटिंग के लिए कल ये कहा गया था कि उस पर समीक्षा की जाएगी। तमाम आरबीआई ने सुझाव,
आरबीआई ने उसमें रात को कल क्लैरिफिकेशंस उन्होंने इशू कर दिए हैं।
जी
सर अगले 1 हफ्ते के भीतर प्राइवेट कंपनी के एम्प्लॉय जो है उनको बड़ी संख्या में सैलरी आने वाली है, वो कैश जाहिर तौर पर ज्यादा निकालेंगे। इसके लिए क्या कोई तैयारी है? क्या कैश में सैलरी डिस्पर्स करने का अलाउ करेंगे जैसे हमने गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉय मंडे?
इसी देखिए, सरकार ने ये जो है एक स्टेप गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से लिया गया है, और हमारा ये उम्मीद है कि प्राइवेट सेक्टर कंपनीज भी अपने वो एम्प्लॉयज को जो है डिजिटल पेमेंट करेंगे। और कई बैंकों के चेयरमैन और एमडीज मेरे को बता रहे थे पिछले 1-2 दिन में कि प्राइवेट कॉर्पोरेट से भी अभी काफी डिमांड फॉर वो जो प्रीपेड कार्ड्स और इम्प्रेस्ड कार्ड जिसका मैंने जिक्र किया था, प्रीपेड कार्ड्स के लिए कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर से काफी डिमांड अभी बढ़ गया है। तो हम ये उम्मीद रखते हैं कि प्राइवेट कॉर्पोरेट हाउसेज और कंपनीज भी अपने एम्प्लॉयज के जो बैंक अकाउंट है डायरेक्टली उनमें उनके खाता में वो डिपॉजिट कर देंगे, और उसके अगेंस्ट में वो डेबिट कार्ड भी इशू कर सकते हैं।
One by one.
Sir, this question was asked earlier in a different way. Just want to understand, would you be able to give us a sense of how much currency has been replaced so far? Any ballpark?
You see, numbers I would not like to go into. It is for Reserve Bank of India, because primarily, as you know, currency production, distribution, it is monitored by the Reserve Bank of India. So I think as and when the figures are, as and when, it's for Reserve Bank of India to consider and, give out the numbers when they, as and when they feel the requirement.
Is the government planning to extend the exemptions which are currently available till 24th of November beyond that? And second, are you planning to completely remove over-the-counter exchange, which was...
No, I cannot reply to that question now, because if and when a decision is taken, it will be immediately announced.
How much money?
नॉर्थ ईस्ट स्टेट्स में कहा जा रहा है कि कई सारे ट्रेडर या उग्रवादी संगठन पुरानी करेंसी को बदलने में लगे हुए हैं क्योंकि वहाँ पे टैक्स एग्जेम्पशन ट्राइबल एरिया में मिला हुआ है। तो कुछ इस बारे में सर आप लोग कुछ करें?
देखिए, कई सारे इलाके में कई सारे चैलेंजेस आए हैं। आप नॉर्थ ईस्ट के बारे में आपने कुछ कहा, ये चैलेंज हमको सिर्फ नॉर्थ ईस्ट में नहीं है, दिल्ली में अलग तरह की चैलेंजेस हमारे सामने आए थे, बहुत लंबे क्यू लग रहे थे, वही लोग बार बार आ रहे थे। सो different parts of the country, different kinds of challenges and डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ प्रॉब्लम्स द गवर्नमेंट इज फेसिंग, एंड जहां पे लॉ एंड ऑर्डर की बात हो तो वहां पे द कंसर्न सिक्योरिटी एजेंसीज एंड द लॉ एनफोर्समेंट एजेंसीज जो अप्रोप्रिएट स्टेप्स है वो तो लेंगे.
Sir, since 8th of November, you have addressed us in the press conferences and through us to the public, and the FM has spoken in Parliament, as well as PM has spoken in various forums. But there have been questions asked. You know, your press conferences are informative and they are detailed. But why hasn't the RBI governor addressed anything in public? Why haven't other senior policymakers, including Mr. Lavasa or Madam Chipukul?
No, I think let's not. No. Let's not do these things. I think for communication purposes, I mean, it's irrelevant who addresses. So the idea is that government should communicate and give out all the information.
But as a regulator, it is necessary for Mr.
So it is not relevant. It's not relevant who speaks. I am just speaking on the behalf of the.
Patel is the banking
You see, I am speaking on behalf of the government. I am not speaking here in my individual capacity. So therefore, it is irrelevant whether I am speaking or somebody else is speaking.
एक सवाल सर, कैश सर बैंकों में दिल्ली में सर कल
अवेलेबल नहीं है.
12 खंबा रोड में जो सर स्टेट्समैन हाउस है उसमें एक्सिस बैंक बहुत बड़ा ब्रांच है. कल 12 बजे दिन में कैश खत्म था. गांव में सर मैनेजर बता रहे हैं कि 2 लाख रुपए की सप्लाई आती है, 2 लाख रुपए में
नहीं, देखिए गांव की जब बात आप गांव की जो बात कर रहे हैं, अब हमारा सरकार का ये हाईएस्ट प्रायोरिटी है कि जो रूरल एरियाज है वहां पे भी कैश मतलब अवेलेबल किया जाए. परसों साहब को जब वित्त मंत्री जी ने ये वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंस किया था बैंकों के साथ, रिजर्व बैंक और सारे बैंकों के साथ, इसके ऊपर ये जो पॉइंट आप कह रहे हैं कि रूरल एरियाज में भी कैश अवेलेबल होनी चाहिए, उसके ऊपर बहुत प्राथमिकता दी गई थी, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंस दी गई थी. मंत्री जी ने ये सबको बैंक्स और रिजर्व बैंक सबको एडवाइस किया हुआ है कि भाई आप, और पोस्ट ऑफिसेस को भी, कि आप ये स्टेप्स लीजिए कि रूरल एरियाज में कैश अवेलेबल हो. और रूरल एरियाज में मैं आपको बता दूं, आप जो कह रहे हैं कि हो सकता है 1-2 बैंक कहीं कुछ इलाके में शायद कुछ दिक्कतें आए होंगे, लेकिन बाई एंड लार्ज जो 1,55,000 पोस्ट ऑफिसेस है वो अभी एक्टिवेट हो गए हैं. रूरल एरियाज में रूरल ब्रांचेस, रीजनल रूरल बैंक्स और माइक्रो ATMs भी काफी अभी एक्टिवेट हो गए हैं. दी बैंकिंग कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट के जो नेटवर्क है वो भी काफी अभी एक्टिवेट हो गया है. तो रूरल एरिया में भी अभी जो मतलब कदम चाहिए वो ऑल दे हैव बीन टेकन एंड कैश इज बीइंग मेड अवेलेबल. आई थिंक वन मोर क्वेश्चन.